Gotta take the strikes down.
Then move
Back to the skits, 12 point.
take the stripes down. Now,
I'll take all the videos down. You remove the strikes. I'll take all the videos down right now.
Golly, now we're hostage
dude,
negotiating.
yeah, you going to stand to your word?
I will.
He's actually butthurt about not being able to go live. I wouldn't do it, Johnny.
I'm about to monetize another channel. I could keep going on that channel if you want to. I'm trying to let this die down. That's why I stopped making as many videos as I did.
Dude.
Would you agree that the videos slowed down, Johnny? Yes or no?
They might have, Mike.
Johnny, I'd hold that leash tight as hell, bro.
Ball's in your court. I got another channel, man. I got a lawyer, so I can handle it. But the ball's in your court.
You got a lawyer.
You guys have a good day.
I'll tell you, Crack Squad, you never cease to amaze me. Once again, lawyer? What is a lawyer going to do? You troll this man and his family, his wife, his kids, his ex-wife. You troll his entire existence on this earth. You troll his job even. For an entire year, more than a year, going on about a year and 8 months for Gobble. You use his content in a derogatory way to say derogatory things about him, up to and including the P word. And now you think a lawyer is going to come and save you from him striking the videos. When YouTube has a toss, okay, I want you just pay attention. The ridiculousness of saying you got a lawyer. Your grandma would have to pay for it. We already know that. But the ridiculousness of it is what blows my mind. After everything you've done to him, and then you take his content to try to make a profit off of it, using it in a derogatory way that breaks YouTube's terms of service. And you think a lawyer can do something to help you. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. It shows who you people are. And I'm going to say it, you're cowards. You dish it out in a group. You bully people in a group. You mob people in a group. And then when someone does just a teensy bit back to you, you go run into the law. You go run into the courts. You instantly become a victim. Gobble, I think you'd be crazy to give this man back his monetization. He would never do that for you. Wouldn't a single one of these crack squad do that for you. And it ain't like you've been bothering him for a year and a half. It is the other way around. And my advice to you, Mike12point, is quit trolling the man. But, your entire channel is based on trolling him. Why don't you live on your own merit? Make a channel on your own merit. I bet it would take you another year or 2 years to get monetized again. If you had to not use Johnny Gobble and me to get views. This nonsense of you people thinking it's just open season on anybody that critiques Upchurch, I'm telling you, I'm staying till I see this through. It is going to end. And it's either going to end with him being bankrupt or all of you having your channels taken down. It just blows my mind that you think you can go run into the courts after everything you've done to him because YouTube finds that your videos break their terms of service. You see, you can strike a video all you want. If there's nothing wrong with the video, the person doing the striking is the one that's going to get in trouble. Okay? YouTube says, hey, don't go striking people for no reason. So obviously, there's a problem with the video or YouTube wouldn't have acted on it. So you're not kidding anybody. That's the reason why I've never had a strike against my channel, because I don't make videos that break the terms of service. And you people have done everything. from doxing people, and I don't care what you say, I've yet to fully dox anyone. Yeah, I posted a picture of Fred Schwartz's house. Did I post his street name and street number? Did I put his phone number up there for everybody to see? Did I put his birth date up there for everybody to see? Nope. Can't say the same for them, though. Hover over my house for 10 hours on a Google live stream with my address, name, telephone number, birth date, last four of my social popping up in the chat. That's doxing. And if I wanted to be a jerk, there's about 3 channels I could take down for the amount of violations, clear violations that are there. I could just start striking and watch them fall. Why don't you try following YouTube's terms of service there, 12-point? Then it won't matter how many times someone reports a video. Wouldn't that be easier than lying and saying you got a lawyer? Because your grandma would have to pay for the lawyer. You have criticized Johnny Gobble for everything you are yourself. You're everything you accuse Johnny of being and try to make fun of him for being. You're everything that is. Only you can't even keep a woman around long enough to want to marry you. So, you're not kidding anybody, 12-point. You ain't got a lawyer, and there ain't nothing a lawyer could do for you. Johnny, I wouldn't give him back to him because he obviously thinks for some reason it's your fault his videos break YouTube's terms of service. So, now let's get on to the fun part of the video. I thought it'd be fun to go over some comments, so let's do that now. And some of them are just incredible, right? And so I'm going to review comments from my last live stream. So this ought to be good. All right. Okay, let's pull some of these babies up. Excuse me, I got to get it over here. All right, let's get to, okay, it says, first one's from Drew. Now, he's one that I can always count on leaving a derogatory comment. He's a perfect representative of what it means to be Creek Squad today. And what is Creek Squad in 2023? Well, let's back up. What was Creek Squad in 2018? In 2018, Creek Squad was hardworking, blue-collar country folk that would give you the shirt off their back, who all had a unified interest in a young man that we looked at as a positive role model for today's youth, and a testament that you don't have to rely on record labels and corporate executives to become somebody or make something of yourself. You can do it on your own. And he was a fine purveyor of that. And everybody was proud to be a part of Creek Squad. But sadly, it is now, to be in Creek Squad is a joke. It's something that people would laugh at you for being a part of. Because Creek Squad is now known as a bunch of bullies, as a bunch of cyber bullies who, in a group, as a mob, pick people out and just start bothering them. And they go outside of YouTube into people's personal lives and they just do shitty stuff to people. Nothing that could quite get you arrested, but stuff that's just a lousy thing to do to people. And they do it relentlessly, and they think it's funny, and they sit in chats all night, Discord servers, whatever, and plan group attacks on people, plan, all kinds of dastardly stuff. They have sent stuff to my house. They have called local businesses. They have made false reports to CPS, made false reports to police, to courts. They have just read people's personal financial information on live streams, taxes, all kinds of that stuff. Why? Why would they do this to a total stranger they've never spoken to? Well, because, they had the guts to critique their little cult leader that used to be a role model and is now just the leader of a cult, a cyberbully cult known as cracksqaud. So now let's go over some of the comments left from my last live stream where, once again, very disappointed that people that know better, people that have clout, people that have an audience, people that have a responsibility, once again perpetuate absolute, utter nonsense, cartoon level conspiracies that are so far-fetched that I doubt it would even work in a movie. People would lose interest because these conspiracies are so open-ended they're impossible, and so they would barely make a Scooby-Doo episode. And when you got people that claim to be retired police detectives and ex-military and recording artists with 3 million subscribers talking absolute nonsense to people who look up to you, it's irresponsible. So made a live stream about that. Let's go over some of the comments. So first comment from Drew. Like I said, he is a purveyor of what cracksqaud is today. Okay, I can count on him making an appearance on everything I post, proving what I just said about cracksqaud. He says, "Damn, PBR, your eyes are pinned out. You okay?" No, Drew, my eyes are fine. You see, I'm standing in front of a ring light. And since I got to explain to you how the pupil works, when someone shines a very bright light in your eyes, your pupils get small to cut out the light. Okay? This is a natural thing. That's why the police, when they walk up to you to see if you've been drinking and driving, they shine a light in your eyes to see how fast your pupil contracts. So it's perfectly normal when someone's in front of a big, bright, green, ring light that their pupils would be small. But since you are worried about what someone's eyes look like, what do you think these are? Now, Drew, hey, Drew, where are you? What, how do you get these kind of pupils in front of a ring light? Okay, next comment. Rainy Days asked me if I saw Upchurch's last video. I don't watch his content anymore. I cannot support anything he does until he starts being a role model again. But as long as he is going to encourage bad behavior, act like it's funny to screw people over, act like it's funny to slander innocent people, I'm not going to support that nonsense. And then, being on drugs, trash-mouthing his parents, trash-mouthing other up-and-coming artists, no, he's not getting any views from me. Let's see. Here's a good question. Jeremy Helmstadler says, if she truly did drown, why didn't they find water in her lungs? Well, that question has been answered. There's 7%, up to 7% of people that drown, dry drown. And it's due to a muscle that contracts in the throat, doesn't allow any fluid to go into the lungs. And 7% doesn't sound like much, but according to statistics, 320,000 people a year drowned. And out of the 320,000 people that drowned, 7% experienced this dry drowning. And that comes out to 24,000 people a year experience dry drowning when they drown. 24,000 out of the 320,000 that drown each year dry drown. So it's not unusual for a person to drown and not have any water in the lungs. So there's that, but there's two layers to what would cause that in her case. It's also very common for cars to have an air pocket trapped in the highest part of the car when it goes underwater. So that car was underwater if let me switch something here real quick. So if this is the car was sitting on the bottom like this. And she went straight to the back like everyone does. It's almost every car you find in the water where the people were still alive when it went under are going to try to go to the highest point in the car. It's a natural human thing to do. That was talked about and discussed in nauseam about whether or not she could get over the back seat into the back compartment, and yes, she can. There's more than enough room. There's been videos made showing that on the CRV. And air pocket would be trapped in the back there, and if that hatch seal was in good shape, that air pocket would stay there. And many times you find vehicles that have been underwater for a long time and they still have an air pocket trapped in them. And what happens is, and we've seen this before, Jeremy, people breathe that air. They swim up to the top. They're in that air pocket. They're panicking. They're breathing hard. They're thinking somebody's coming for them. They don't want to risk. They're not sure how deep water they're in. They don't know how to get out of the car. It is pitch black, mind you. You got to understand, she's underwater. She can't see anything. It is pitch black. So they stay there in that air pocket hoping they'll get rescued. And they slowly use up all the usable oxygen. And the very silent killer known as carbon monoxide, they pass out. And then no water in the lungs. So there's two very valid reasons why she wouldn't have had water in her lungs. Next comment. Big Cartilio Smitty. 100% accountability in on Pink Cheeks. Upchurch, he started it, promoted it, lied about it. That's very true, man. Unfortunately. And what's so frustrating about it is because he never walked it back, because he never apologized, because the other knuckleheads that were on that panel with him never apologized, never walked it back, never said we were wrong, people still cling to that. And it's just, and I'll say the same thing about these other true crime channels that have a large viewership that are doing the same thing. There's a certain amount of people out there that once they hear the cartoon level conspiracy, they're not going to hear anything else. You can put fact after fact after fact after fact after fact in front of their face, and they will reject it. And they will cling to this stupid conspiracy that doesn't have a single shred of evidence, just pure wild speculation that's cartoon level. And it's just human nature. It's how it is. Let's move on to the next one. This guy says, I could care less about this BS. It's California. Nobody gives about that shitty state. Okay. How old are you, man? Does your mom know you're on the internet talking to people? I just want to know. I mean, the maturity level there is incredible. Because this is a good question too, or statement, more rather a statement. Let's digest this and dissect it, shall we? He says the fact that you are still supporting that POS gobble after he keeps running his own son down on the internet speaks volumes about your character. Well, guess what, Lawless? There's a mature name, Lawless. Guess what? The fact that you still support Upchurch after he has completely slandered his father and the people that work for him and his business while higher than a kite, slandered that man every way humanly possible, and then insinuated that he had no right to defend himself. The fact that you still support Upchurch after he accused grieving parents of being liars and common thieves, faking having a child, faking a death for some chump change from GoFundMe. The fact that you still support him after that, you still support him after he tried to get Chase Matthews canceled with some guilt by association game because Chase said the independent thing ain't for me, I'm going with a label. The fact that you still support him after that, after he called his mom a hoe, his own mom, said he would pee on her grave, speaks volumes to your character. What do you think of that? Move on to the next one. I don't know about that. There's something about censorship. Feds are going to make an example out of Upchurch. I don't think it goes that deep, but I hear you. Brock, USA 21. I can't wrap my head around how people really think anyone other than her having an accident caused this tragedy. I don't either. When you look at the totality of the evidence, up to and including a video actually showing it happen, knowing all the other stuff that goes along with that, and then knowing that that is the most likely thing to have happened, knowing that it happens to 1,500 people a year, it blows my mind that they would want to cling to some cartoon level conspiracy where you realize the recent implication. Let's forget about what Upchurch said. But what did we hear? And I just got to say it on Duty Ron's channel the other night. What did we hear? We heard that the stupid absurdity that a group of high school kids would delete a classmate for some whatever reason. And they would be so clever and so good at this that they would be able to hide the body for 2 weeks, hide the car for 2 weeks, and then bring the car back to that very place and put it in the water and put the body in it to make it look like an accident. And then this group of high school kids that knee-jerk deleted a classmate now automatically knew 3 miles away there was a security camera on a fire tower that someone might find. So they went and broke into the tower, opened up the DVR system, took the hard drive out, because that's the only way you could do this, and take that video off the hard drive, the one that's on there, and replace it with one they edited that instead of showing them putting the car back in the water, it shows her driving in the water. And then they put the DVR back together and hooked it back up to the camera without breaking the camera's timeline, because that camera's sitting there clicking. Every 1/10 of a second, it's taking a snapshot. and saving it. Every 10th of a second, it's taking a snapshot and saving it. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, it's taking a snapshot every 10th of a second and recording it. So this group of high school kids, after knee-jerk deleting a classmate for some strange reason, went and hid the body for 2 weeks, hid the car for 2 weeks. They brought the car back and the body back and put it in the water, broke into the fire tower, replaced the video on the DVR system with one they created because they knew ahead of time someone would find out that that security camera in the fire tower could see the lake on that night. The DVR also is streaming to a cloud. And that cloud is then, that video is then embedded on a website that has public access. So they went, uh-oh. So they went and they hacked into a government computer system and then hacked into a secure cloud service, erased that video, and put a copy of their edited video on there, so that is what would be streaming at the website 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks prior, with that timeline perfectly intact, where that thing's taking a snapshot every 10th of a second, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is the absurdity that would have to take place for this ridiculous conspiracy. And I do mean ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I wasn't sure on my live stream, so I didn't say I knew for sure. I said I thought. Well, I'm going to say I know for sure now. You could not do that. It's technically impossible to edit a security cam video without breaking the timeline. In other words, you're no way can you understand that there's a recording from that camera that's let's just say go back 1 year. There's a recording that's 365 days long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just constantly recording. It never stops. So for you to be able to take a piece out of the middle and edit it and put it back, and then also, you'd have to do that 3 places. You'd have to do it at the DVR, where the camera is. You'd have to do it at the cloud server, where it's being streamed to. And you'd have to do it at the website where it's being embedded. All without breaking any of the timeline and disrupting the camera. If you even knew the camera was there. That's the absurdity we're talking about here, folks. That's why when I tell you, if you believe that that video was edited, you are a simpleton. Now, the other nonsense is believing that somehow the police were under some obligation to update blow by blow true crime channels on YouTube with everything they have. These true crime channels out there that you guys listen to, they don't have any more information than you do. And the police didn't tell them a tenth of what they knew. The police would have a 20-minute press conference and give highlights of the investigation only. They didn't tell you about every suspect. They didn't tell you about everybody they questioned. They didn't tell you about everything they knew. They had the fire tower video for over a week before the public knew about it. And if you pay attention to the news broadcast at the time, the Nevada County Sheriff says, we had no idea there was a camera that could see that area. You understand, this thing's out of town. This is out in the country. It's very remote. And it's a campground. Over 300 people a day visit. And to think that, for God's sakes, to think that, so these kids have hid the body and hid the car for 2 weeks. Police searched the lake, couldn't find her. Why would they risk going back there with that car when the whole town's looking for that car? It's a very busy road going into crosser campground, and there's people in the park. The park's reopened. There's people camping, fishing, swimming, kayaking, playing with their dog on the beach. The place is full of people. And they're going to bring the car back and put it in the water? And if they did that, wouldn't there be a video of it from the fire tower? I mean, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. So when I see someone tells me they believe that, yes, you're a simpleton. I'm sorry, you're just a simpleton. You're not using your head. You can't have these open-ended conspiracies where it takes several other things to align for it to be possible. It's ridiculous. Next question, or next comment, rather. And this guy says AWD, or Adventure with Purpose, had fish finders too. I have the same 2 side depth finders on my bass boat. Right, but you got to remember now, hold on, Adventures with Purpose has a handheld one that they can shine like a flashlight. It's the way you have to look at that side scan sonar that AWP was using. It's like a flashlight. So just picture a flashlight shining around in the dark and being able to see something, in the circle of light that the flashlight makes. Well, that's what that sonar does. So that's what makes it such an effective tool. I can guarantee the police didn't have that. And if they had one, they probably didn't know how to use it. So yeah, good point. This guy says, Ready Randy, he comments, why wouldn't the cops wait for the water to clear? Dude, come on. Use your head. If you're telling me that you're a detective. There's a missing 16-year-old that left a party where there's water. You're going to come to that scene and you're going to tell everybody, well, meet us back here in a couple weeks when the water clears up and we'll search then. No, you're going to search that day. Of course they wouldn't wait. My goodness, dude. No. The police would not wait till the water cleared to search. They'd start searching right away. So, Nutty Futz. He leaves a nice comment. Again, a nice purveyor of Crack Squad. Says, bro, sometimes you can be such a hypocrite. You keep going after Upchurch for the Kylie videos he made, but we all see you saying the exact same thing on panels and videos. Dude, I don't know what you're smoking. I don't know what you're tripping on. You've never seen me on any panel anywhere. I've never been on anybody's panel. I popped into AD's live maybe a couple of times, and that wasn't even the topic, and I was only on there for a few minutes and left. The only place you've ever seen me is on my own channel. I've never had a panel where these conspiracies were discussed. Never. And I've not for even a microsecond believed any of that conspiracy crap. So I don't know where you get this from, dude. It sounds to me like you're another one that doesn't have sense enough to know. Go to the source and get your information. Don't listen to someone else tell you. Because that sounds to me like you've been over on the fairy tale channel listening to the fairy tales, the gross exaggerations and the fabrications and the one-uppers and the world champions and the world's greatest stereos that blow 40 windshields and the retired pro motocross champions that have motorcycle shops that are so busy they need 12 tire machines. No, I've never once subscribed to that nonsense. I said accident from day one, and I'll stand by that. Crack Squad. Next one. Upchurch thinks he's going to put his addiction on display. I don't know about any of that, dude. I can't get into that. Appreciate your comment, but so Southern Miss seems to take it kind of personal, and she says you call other people simpletons, but in the video You really have let your own ignorance and bias show through. Why? By talking about facts? Talking about facts is my bias? Dear, it's a fact that the water was up 3.5 feet and murky. It was a fact, an absolute fact, that we have a video showing her going to the water. It's a fact that that video came from the Forestry Service security cameras that could not be manipulated, especially by a bunch of high school kids who, for some reason, had just recently knee-jerk deleted a classmate. And to believe this ridiculous conspiracy, again, you would have to believe that a bunch of high school kids went and hit a car in the body for 2 weeks, brought it back, put it into water, returned to the crime scene in an open park where hundreds of people go camping night and day, and on a very busy road where everybody's looking for this car, and they're going to risk driving it back there, putting it in the water with her in it, and not be seen by the 300 and some people that are at that park every day and night. And then knew about a fire tower video ahead of time that I'll argue probably very few people even knew that camera was on that fire tower. The police didn't know it was there. And had the wherewithal to break in, edit the video, break into the cloud service, hack into the cloud service, and I mean, just ignorance, I guess, is bliss. But if you had any knowledge of computer systems, security cameras, you would know that's just virtually impossible. And you would also know that 3 feet of water makes a hell of a difference. If you've ever been around water, been fishing, know anything, even water that's somewhat clear, you can see down a couple feet, but after a couple of feet, you can't see anymore. And that, that drone shot that you see from AWP that day where you can see the car, it's high noon, the sun is high in the sky, and they know exactly what they're looking at. It's marked, and they're able to zoom in and all that. I mean, they've already found the car at that point, and they're hovering over it and specifically zooming on it for that picture, okay? And if that car was down 3.5 feet more than what it is in that picture, and the water was murky, you wouldn't be able to see it. These are just facts, dear. They're not my opinions. So I agree. If you believe that those high school kids did something to that girl and then were able to pull off some multi-layer conspiracy, given the totality of everything we know, combined with the video from the Forestry Service security camera up high on a fire tower that very few people even knew were there, you're a simpleton. I'm sorry. You have to be a very small-minded individual to negate all the facts and adopt some wild, far-fetched conspiracy that doesn't have a shred of evidence to back it up. You have no evidence that video would be manipulated. Yet we have a mountain of evidence that says it couldn't be, right? It's on a timeline. It's in a secure server. It's a 3-layer video. It's being recorded on site by the security camera, and then it's being recorded onto a DVR system in real time, and then it's being streamed to a cloud service all at the same time. 365 days a year, that camera streaming. I'm going to say it would be impossible to edit that timeline and manipulate that video. And you would do all that. These high school kids would do all that, not knowing if somebody would find that camera or not. How'd the high school kids know the camera was there and could see them? And I'll add, if the security camera could see the lake, then it would clearly have seen them bring the car back and the body back and put it in the water. And it would have saw your other ridiculous conspiracy from Mr. Upchurch that Zanime and Ickadmel somehow scuba dived down to the car using a Yamaha scuba bike. that actually turned out to be a kayak transporter. I mean, I'm sorry you're a simpleton. It's hard to read these comments, as you can see. And it says, and what really makes it laughable is your demeanor, your confidence in what you're saying, along with the belittling. Yes, I'm very confident over facts. Fact, it rained several days leading up to the party, and then about 38 hours after the party, it rained beat hell so bad it washed all the tire tracks away. That is not my opinion, dear. That is a fact. You can see for yourself. Pay attention, okay? Clear your mind. Let's pretend there's no conspiracy, and we're just going to absorb facts and knowledge. Clear your mind. You can go look at the news videos when the news crews were there the first day they searched the lake. There are helicopters in the air, and those videos are still up on YouTube. And you can see how high the water is if you then compare those videos to the video of the day Adventures with Purpose was there and retrieved the body. Compare those two videos. Do it yourself. Don't take my word for it. And you will see about 3.5 foot more of bank showing, the brown area with when AWP's there, showing that the water had subsided about 3.5 feet. It's also a fact, Southern Miss, a fact that when it rains hard, lakes, bodies of water, rivers, creeks, reservoirs will get very murky for 2 or 3 days because they're full of silt, and it takes 3 or 4 or 5 days for that silt to settle out. So those are just facts. So yeah, I'm very confident. I'm very confident in reciting facts. And it says, I'm done trying to get you to see that my lack of self-awareness. What lack of self-awareness is there when you're just reciting facts? I know for certain it rained. I know for certain the water was up 3.5 feet. I know for certain the water was silty. I know for certain the police aren't sonar experts. I know for certain that Adventures with Purpose are. I know for certain they had a handheld side sonar rig that the police didn't have, and hundreds of hours of training using it, and training with success. The police have probably sonared a couple of cars in their entire career, and Adventures with Purpose does it every day. The water was up 3.5 feet when the police were there. It was down 3.5 feet when Adventures with Purpose was there. So what self-awareness am I lacking? I would say I'm very aware. And I'm going to repeat myself. If you believe these silly open-ended conspiracies, you're a simpleton. Let's see what else is. And then oh, I agree with most of what you say, but blah, 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 blah. No, you're simping for Upchurch. You're still clinging because Upchurch said these things. You don't want to admit he was just absolutely whacked out of his fucking gourd. Okay, now, here's her second comment. As you can see, she was clearly taking it personal, which is just silly. Why would you take it so personal? You don't know the girl, right? You don't know her. You don't know anything more than what anybody else would know. But yet, you want to discount facts and criticize facts. It blows my mind. Okay, it says, I wonder why law enforcement didn't go get those recordings from the beginning. If they were really looking for her, wouldn't that be one of the first things to do? If you knew the area was being recorded? Well, that's just it, dear. If you go back and listen to the press conferences, the sheriff said we had no idea there was a security cam recording the lake that could see 3 miles away. The police were not aware of it. And I would say, unless you worked for the Forestry Service or you frequented the Forestry Service website to check out that cam, you see that cam is not only being recorded locally, but it's being streamed to a cloud service and it's embedded on a publicly accessible website for the Forestry Service. And so a private citizen, dear, just some dude that checks out that website every now and then because he saw that it had a camera you could look at. There are cameras like that all over the internet you can find. And he would just happen to think, wait a minute, that camera sometimes is pointed at the lake. I wonder if it was pointed at the lake that day, because that camera rotates slowly. Okay, so he just wanted to go check and see, was it pointed at the lake that day? And lo and behold, it was. So that's when he contacted law enforcement and put it in their hands. I mean, there's no conspiracy to it. There's no multi-layer. There's no insider. There's no secret key. There's no nothing. Okay? A citizen that was aware that thing existed was the one that made police aware of it. And I hate to tell you this, but you put a lot of stock in small town police officers when reality is they're dudes that barely have a high school education. They go to a police academy for 6 months, and now they're a police officer. That doesn't make them aware of every security camera in the world. The police don't know if there's a security camera somewhere until they go around asking. They're just like me and you. They're just people. They don't know all this stuff. Where did you ever get the idea that police are experts and know every security camera and know how to use sonar and know how to look for cars underwater? And they don't. They're just knuckleheads like me and you. Blue-collar job, very little training. They're no better than we are. They don't know any more than we are. All they can do is ask. But when you've got 3 separate police departments that all agree that it was an accident based on that video, you're a simpleton if you believe some SoundCloud rapper's version over theirs. You are a simpleton. I'm sorry. I just have to call it like I see it. So there's very good reason why the police didn't have the video for weeks. They didn't know it was there. Nobody did. It didn't occur. People knew maybe there was a security camera there, but it didn't occur to them it could see the lake 3 miles away that clearly, and it happened to be pointed that way that night. Whew. All right, it says, if they were really looking for her. So she says, if they were really looking for her, wouldn't that be one of the first things they would do if they knew the area was being recorded? What do you mean, if they were really looking for her? What is that supposed to mean? See, that's you, once again, reverting back to Ryan Upchurch's Scooby-Doo episode, where the police were in on some scam. Honestly, dear, honestly, I want someone from Crack Squad that believes this bullshit to once and for all explain to us what this was. All we hear is that this wasn't true, and that was a conspiracy, and that ain't true, and that was a conspiracy, and this. What was the end game here? What was the motivation that made people build this multi-layer conspiracy? What was the end game? What was the motivation? Why'd they do it? So why would the police, the EMTs, the Forestry Service, the parents, the high school friends, a tow truck driver, why would all these people get together and plan this big multi-layer conspiracy to cover up the accidental death of a teenager that hardly anyone knows from a family that hardly anyone knows? What was the motivation? Are you still stuck that all these people would do that to try and split some GoFundMe money? I mean, get a grip, girl. Get a grip. Nobody could pull off a conspiracy like that. Couldn't be done. Especially a bunch of high school kids. You want people to believe that 300 high school kids could plan a conspiracy and pull it off flawlessly, multi-layer, to trick 3 police departments and all keep their mouth shut. Or the police were in on it and everybody was in on it to split up $6,000 of GoFundMe money. Get a grip. What you need to do is you need to erase out of your brain everything you heard Ryan Upchurch say. Pretend he never spoke on this case at all. And then go back and look at the evidence. And you're going to say, wow, I'm a dipshit. I mean, I don't know what else to say to you. It seems to me that you're very emotionally invested and you take it personal. And you're mad that facts don't support Upchurch's cartoon. Upchurch's drug-induced, hallucination-level cartoon that he's being sued in federal court over. So you still think. So here's the conspiracy, folks. This is why she's so upset. Here's the silly conspiracy. Bunch of high school kids, the local police department, the Nevada State Police, and the California Highway State Patrol, and the Forestry Service, EMTs, 250 volunteers, the graduating class of 2022 from Truckee School, and AAA towing, and the local news, and a local government PR person all got together somewhere and decided that because the conspiracy is there's 2 conspiracies built into one. So one of the layer of the conspiracy is it was all faked. The news reports were faked. The police station was faked because they couldn't find it on Google Maps because they were too stupid to know Google Satellite View can be 10 years old. It was all faked to get GoFundMe money. That's one layer of the Upchurch cartoon. The other layer of the Upchurch cartoon is they actually did delete a classmate and then knee-jerk built this conspiracy on the fly, blow by blow, to cover it up. But either way, it's just ridiculous, girl. Absolutely freaking ridiculous, given the totality of evidence that shows that it was an accident. What I want to hear someone from Crack Squad explain to me why they think, what brings them to the level where they believe that 3 different police agencies would lie. So I'd like to hear your explanation for that. I'd like to hear your explanation for why would a bunch of high school kids want to delete a classmate, and how do you suppose that they were so good at this, they were able to pull off a conspiracy at that level without screwing up once? And then I want you to explain to me how nobody on the ground that was there, not the family, not the friends, not a very experienced private investigator that, from what I understand, is ex-FBI. Well, all those people couldn't figure it out, but some SoundCloud rapper sitting in his room hiring a kite in Tennessee figured it all out. You guys got to get a grip, man. You got to get a grip. Sorry, you do. And she just I'm not even going to address any more of her comments, to tell you the truth. Go back and read them yourself. Yeah, sorry you take it so personal. Sorry you're offended by it, but if you believe any of these ridiculous conspiracies, you're a simpleton. You're small-minded. You don't think things through. You're irrational. That's all I can say about it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's impossible. I'm going to stress. I'm going to say it right here. I challenge any of you to prove me wrong. It is technically impossible to go in and manipulate a security cam video that's being recorded locally and being streamed to a cloud service that's then embedded on a website without breaking the timeline between those three. I'm going to tell you it's technically impossible. So there's no way that video could have been manipulated. Who would have known to manipulate it ahead of time? It's just silly. I'm going to go ahead and say, don't you have sense enough to know that if there's a recording showing a car turn and drive into the water, then there would be a recording of the kids putting the car back and the body back in the water too. And there would be a video of Icked Mel and Zanime scuba diving down to the car. That whole tow truck driver thing was drama for the Adventures with Purpose video. That guy and that story and that nonsense, as far as police were concerned, was a big, huge fucking nothing burger. And that's 3 different police agencies who viewed the man's camera that was on the service truck. The police saw that camera footage. They deemed it a nothing burger. Now, do you think the police would lie about that? How would they get 3 agencies to cooperate in lying about it? Just stop it, you guys. Stop it. The people on the ground, the people that know her family, her friends, her classmates, her community, all know what happened. Because they have a video showing it happened, and it is the most likely thing to have happened. And if you think there was some silly conspiracy, you are a simpleton. You are a small-minded fool. And you need to find something better to do with your time. Catch you on the next one.